Okay, did everyone get in? Okay. All right, so welcome to everyone who is here. The first couple slides are just introduction, so as more people trickle in, that will be fine. But I want to introduce myself really quick and let you know that you're in the right place. I am Maggie Ramirez. I am the Student Success and Retention Specialist for the Physiology program. So I work closely with our academic advisors to support all of our students. And this event, Staying in Love with Physio, was planned for our students, primarily our first year students. We really wanted to create an experience where we could come together here in the spring semester and really start to get, especially our first year students, excited about what's up next in their physiology journey, in their physiology career, specifically in your second and maybe into your third year as a physiology student. So we have a lot of guest speakers here with us today from faculty, from our ambassador program, from our advisors, and also the director of our program is here with us today as well. So we'll get started. Oh, thank you. So before we jump into the content, I just want to acknowledge that the University of Arizona resides on the traditional land of the Tohono O'odham people. So as you visit campus, be sure to speak a word of thanks to the Tohono O'odham and Pasquayaki peoples upon whose land we are guests here in Tucson. So the first person that I want to introduce is the director of our program, Claudia, and she just wanted to welcome you and say a few words herself. Claudia.
Thank you so much, Maggie. I hope everyone can hear me okay. So good. Okay. So my name is Claudia Stanescu, and I'm the director of the undergraduate physiology program. I'm also the director of the musculoskeletal block in the medical school. So I have the opportunity to teach in both the undergraduate program and also in the medical curriculum, which gives me, I think, a good view of sort of where some of our students are headed, but also just it's nice to see, both sides of things. I realize not everyone goes to medical school, but for those that do, it's nice to see that sort of side of things and have that experience. So I wanted to, I guess, let you know what I'm teaching, so that hopefully when you see me in the future, you can say hi and feel comfortable coming up and speaking to me. I teach in Anatomy and Physiology 201 in the first half of the course. And I also teach an upper division elective class, the musculoskeletal physiology colloquium, and I teach in the medical school. So those are pretty much the teaching responsibilities, or what I get to do, which I enjoy very much. So many of you, as you'll be entering, first I should say congratulations on completing your first semester and almost your first year, right? Because you were halfway through the second semester, so you can smell it. When we hit March, it's sort of like, oh, we're getting closer to the end of the spring semester for some reason. When it gets warm, I just feel like semester's almost over, although we're not quite there yet. But I do want to congratulate you for making it through this transition. It is challenging to start college, and especially now in this environment with pandemic and everything we've had to adjust to. I think you should be very proud of yourselves for making it to this point and getting excited. I hope you're getting excited about what's coming, because we think this is a great program, and that there's a lot of cool things for you to learn. So many of you, as you're starting to think about next year and sort of moving forward, you'll be taking Anatomy and Physiology. You'll be taking the Physio 201, 202 class. And in that class, what's neat about it is that you'll get exposed to all the body systems. So you'll get to see sort of what you like, right? So in 201, you get to see an introduction to the human body, and then the skeletal system. You learn about skin, you learn about the muscular system and the nervous system. And then in 202, you'll get to learn about the cardiovascular system, the respiratory system, the immune system, reproductive system, renal, digestive, endocrine, lots of different body systems, right? But the nice thing about it is that you get exposed to all these different physiologies physiology, and you'll get an overview of all the different areas that you might find you enjoy. So it's a great foundation. It will set sort of the stage for what you want to study next, and hopefully will introduce you to ideas of where you might want to go. And also maybe help you get interested in an area that to pursue in terms of research. So I think it's kind of a great place to start thinking about what else you want to do, what else you might want to get involved in. So research is a great it's a great direction to take, to explore. And in your sophomore year is also a good idea to start thinking about getting involved in other things on campus and also volunteering if you haven't done so already. I know it's a little bit challenging right now to find volunteer positions, but many students start applying to professional schools in their junior year. So because of that, it's nice to start volunteering in your sophomore year so you have something to put on your application when you get to your junior year. So just something to sort of keep in mind. As you're thinking about your third and sort of fourth year, that's when the fun sort of starts in the major. I think you will enjoy the variety of electives that we have. Hopefully, you will learn some more about them from some of our students here today. I think we offer some really neat topics. It all depends on what you're interested in. So I would encourage you when you're taking 2-on-2 to really think about what you are enjoying, what is it that you like learning, what comes easy, right? And then I think you will find sort of a direction that you might want to specialize in terms of which system in physiology you might want to study some more. So I'm going to leave it at that. I think I said plenty. I'm going to just say, we're here for you. We wish you the best as you continue. And we're here to support you. So make sure you reach out to us if you need help.
Thank you so much, Claudia. That is amazing advice. And you all are lucky today because not only is Claudia here with all of that background and advice about the program in its entirety, but we also have a few more speakers who are experts in kind of the next classes for you, like Physio 201 and 202. So the next person we have on the agenda actually is Dr. Allison Ruth, and she is here to give you a little bit more insight about what to expect in 201.
Yeah, hi, thanks, Maggie. It's good to see all of you, or at least see some photos on the screen, which I think is, become our new norm, but I'm accepting it. I'm going with it. I do love to see your faces though. So my name is Dr. Allie Roof. I am the course director for Physiology 201, which is the first of the two courses between 201 and 202. And I won't rehash all the details, but we basically cover the first half of the systems that you'll learn about in our introductory courses. And I'm open to questions here. I want to make sure that I'm addressing your guys' concerns. I'll mention a few things, kind of just some general tips and tricks and a general overview, but I don't want to bore you with things you might already know or skip over things that you're really, dying to hear. So please let us know what it is that you'd like to hear. So in 201, we have a lecture and a lab component. The instructors teach in the lecture component. So this semester, it's Dr. Stanescu and myself. It's typically team taught. You'll see a couple of instructors in the lecture portion. We kind of switch back and forth depending on which topic is being taught. And then you'll have a lab portion, and that part is taught by the TAs. So you'll have a smaller group of students that meet. Usually around 30 students will meet in a lab setting, and you'll do anything from a dissection to looking at human bones, learning about the different features of the bones. We'll do some experiments in the nervous system in 201. So lab has a variety of components all throughout the semester, but we try to make it as hands-on as possible for you. And you've got your TAs there to kind of guide you through it. So, this course, 201 and 202, these are 4-unit courses because they have a lecture and a lab combined. So there's quite a bit of material. But as Dr. Stanescu mentioned, it's all really interesting. And our goal is to get you as much of that information up front so that you can make decisions about what body systems you think are most intriguing or most interesting to you. And then you can make decisions about what electives to take in the future. So as far as some general kind of tips, let's see, I see something in the chat. Do you speak about the honors course for 201? Sure. So we do have an honors section of 201. The major difference with the honors section is the lab. And you'll have some extra assignments in the lab. You'll also be responsible for a bit more information in the honors section of the lab. So if you're interested in that, I'd be happy to send you just kind of a syllabus, a sample syllabus from the honors section. My email is just aroof@arizona.edu. So you're always welcome to email me with that type of question or any other. So, you know, I don't want to go too far off the deep end here with tips for success, because I think, you know, we could talk on and on about that. But I will tell you that the strategies that you learn and adopt in 201 will continue to be useful for you all throughout the major. So my advice to you is to get off on the right foot, right? So when you come into 201, make sure that you have a plan, okay? Whether it's having a planner that has, you know, every due date outlined. Some people that works well for, that's their time management strategy. They stick to it. Other people need to be more specific. They need to set a study schedule for themselves, right? So every day at 3 p.m., I'm going to study physiology for an hour, right? Everybody has a different approach, but the key is for you to find yours. And if it's working, stick to it. But also if it's not working, don't stick to it, right? So if something isn't working for you when you get into this course, if things aren't turning out, your grades aren't turning out the way that you want them to be, make a change. And we're here to help you do that. We have so much support to offer you. So we not only have the instructors who will hold office hours, we also have our TAs, which have their own office hours in our study center. We have SI leaders, so supplemental instruction leaders. We have preceptors. We have an entire instructional team that's here to help you figure out how to get through the semester in the most successful way. So my biggest piece of advice to you is to get to know us. We're not scary, I promise. We're here to help. We really want every single one of you to succeed. So come say hi. Even if you don't have a question at the beginning of the semester, just come say hello. Let us know who you are and what you think is interesting. We'll remember you. And then if you happen to have trouble later on in the semester, it'll be less uncomfortable, right? To come forward and say, hey, I'm really confused about this thing, or I'm having trouble, can you help? So yeah, ask for help if you need it. That's what we're here for. Find a time management strategy that works for you. Find a study strategy that works for you. And I think you guys will do amazing. Yeah, it's if you go into 201 and 202 knowing that it's going to be a lot of information, but excited to learn it, then you'll be off on the right foot.
Such great advice. Thank you. And we'll have, you know, as if you have any questions that come up for any of us that are speaking, like I said, pop those in the chat and we'll try to come back to them or address them as we can. But we have a few more perspectives to share about these courses. The next one is from one of our ambassadors who's been there. So Tudor, you are up next to share about your experience.
Hello, thank you all. So I am the physio co-president or physio ambassador co-president and currently a senior. So I've been through it all and I definitely know what it's like to be intimidated to not only get to know your professors, but also just to deal with all that coursework. I think my personal best advice for you is, you know, don't be intimidated by it. You know, it's a lot. We all have our struggles. We all, you know, had our worst moments in all of these classes, but it's just part of the experience. And honestly, it gets easier with time. But once again, we're all here for you. I was a preceptor. I'm also a physio ambassador, and all these different instructional roles are meant to help you in some way, shape, or form, whether it be the physio ambassadors who can provide you different resources, different pieces of advice, because we typically are more seniors in the coursework, so we know what it's like and we know how to get through there. But also the preceptors, they went through the classes, they know how to get through them. And your instructors are also great for asking how to better study the material. So long story short, basically everyone's here for you and everyone's a great team. No one's scary, everyone's really awesome. And we're all willing to help you. And we really hope that you come to us with any questions and we're here for you in the end of the day. So please feel free to ask questions. Please feel free to email me. I'll put my email in the chat if you guys would like that.
Thank you, Tudor. Before you switch to just listening mode, I am curious, about, because Dr. Ruth talked about this, you know, what was your study strategy for 201 and 202 that really worked for you?
So 201 was an interesting experience because coming out of high school, I thought I knew how to study really well. And turns out 201 is quite a slap to the face. It's going to be a lot of material. It's a lot of things thrown at you all at once. And I kind of learned this at the second half of 201. And this is the advice that I have is if you can do this from the get-go, you will be perfect in terms of your grades will be exceptional. The thing that I learned was if you can get yourself a whiteboard or a piece of paper and just write down the notes like a million times till you have them memorized, you will eventually understand what those notes say. The same thing holds true for lab. Like if you can write those notes from memory, just keep on writing them. I mean, you're gonna hate writing them, but it works. I mean, I had students that I precepted for in the 202 lab. I told them what I did to get an A in 202, and they did the exact same thing, and they ended with an A in 202 as well. And they were incredibly thankful. So ultimately, it just comes down to going to the study center, taking the time and actually understanding the models for the lab, but then also taking the time and writing out the notes a million times till you can't take it anymore. Like, even if you're tired, just keep writing it. That's my best advice.
So I'll just add a few things onto that because I think Tutor has some really great advice. And the one huge takeaway that applies to everybody, no matter what your study strategy is it's going to take time. Success does not come in 201 if you don't put in the time, right? So I often tell students, you'll get out of this course what you put into it. And I think, you know, that may sound intimidating, but it should be motivating, right? If you come in knowing you're going to have to put in the time, you'll walk away with so much new knowledge, and you'll have all the cool, you know, human body trivia to share with your friends next time, you know, you're all together, which hopefully will be soon, right? Hopefully we won't be stuck this way forever. But so on top of, you know, kind of repetition in your studying, whether that's writing out your notes, there's some other strategies you can use. Things like drawing out concepts, right? So not just redrawing a figure in the book, but drawing out a concept that somebody has explained in words, making a flow chart or a table, doing that from memory. And one of the most successful or most promising ways to study is to try to teach the information to someone else. Even if it's your dog, it doesn't matter, right? Try to say it out loud, explain it like you're standing up on stage in front of a lecture, the way that we do. And you'll find that when you're, you know, vocalizing these concepts, you'll get to a point where you're tongue-tied. And that means that you don't quite understand it well enough to take an exam, right? You don't quite have it in your memory ready to explain. You may have memorized something, but you don't quite understand. So drawing out concepts and talking through concepts like you're teaching. Those are my two biggest pieces of advice for thoroughly studying the material in 201 and 202.
Such good advice. I'm so glad that we're recording this. And I also wanted to say about the putting in the time that you need. That's a really important point when you're thinking about making your schedule for when you take 201 and talking to your advisor about balancing out your schedule and what else you have to deal with, whether it's work or caretaking or whatever it is, really thinking through what the time commitment is going to be when you take some of these classes, and your academic advisor can really help you do that. So next up, we actually have some perspective from the lab part of these courses. So our next two speakers are Stephanie and Monica, and they are lab coordinators for our 201 and 202 courses.
Hi, everyone. So I am the 201 lab coordinator, and so I guess I'll start since it's the first one that you'll be taking. So 201 and 202, the labs, as Dr. Ruth mentioned, we try to make it as hands-on as possible. But there is a slight difference between 201 and 202. 201 as your first real experience with anatomy. It's going to take a little bit longer to get used to the terminology. And we do have a slightly heavier anatomy component. So there's a little bit more anatomy than physiology in the lab for 201. A lot of the advice that has been already shared, I think, applies to the lab, and really good advice. So I'm just going to reiterate a few key points. I think that coming in, having a positive attitude, knowing that you're not going to know everything, but that if you put in time, you can understand the material. I think that is one of the biggest things that you can do, like have a growth mindset. Another, being engaged. And so that looks different for different people, whether that's like taking notes while you're in the lecture or while you're in the lab, or if that's like actually asking questions while you're there. Like just get to know your professors, get to know your TA. I would say however you can engage with the material the best for your own learning style, that's going to help a lot. But I highly, highly recommend getting to know, at the very least, your TA, the one that you spend like 3 hours with in the lab, and asking for help when you can, or like when you need it. So those are, I think, the two biggest things. I'll let Monica jump on, and then I'll add if I think of more.
Hi everyone, I'm Monica. I'm the Physio 202 lab coordinator. Yeah, there was a lot of great advice shared. And I wanted to emphasize the difference also between 201 and 202 is that 202, we focus more heavily on functions of the tissues, the structures, and the organs, so just beyond the anatomy. And one of the really important things to remember when you're, taking 201 and 202 is that, you don't want to try to memorize everything, right? Especially the functional portions of it. You really want to, we emphasize understanding. So even though you could try to memorize, all the stuff we throw at you, try to understand it more from like why the body is set up as it is and why certain things are functioning or why certain anatomical structures function the way they do. So I think understanding is going to be a key component to the success of students, especially in 202, but also in 201. Beyond that, I kind of want to mention just some of the really cool specific things that we do in lab to get you guys excited. So not only do you guys get to do hands-on dissections, but there's also blood typing. So if you come to lab, you can potentially have the opportunity to learn your own blood type if you don't know it already. And hematocrit. So there's various like experiments where you can test your own physiology, which is kind of cool because you can, even though there's sometimes a little weird, a little awkward, like the urinalysis experiment where you get to test your own urine. We also have synthetic urine though, but you get to learn about yourself and it's really cool. And it's not as awkward when we're all doing it together. So there's some fun parts like that everyone gets to do. And what else did I want to say? And if you love it enough, we really encourage you to come back and be a preceptor because our preceptors are really helpful. And I think I see maybe a preceptor in this group, but they're really great at helping the students connect with the TAs and the rest of the faculty more. So yeah, if there's any other questions specific to 202, I would be happy to answer them. But that's kind of what I wanted to say about it.
Thank you, Stephanie and Monica. That's really interesting. I hope that, I know that students have, I can tell from our RSVP form and what we hear from students in advising that there is definitely some anxiety sometimes surrounding getting ready for these classes and getting through them. But I love some of the points that you have all made too. I wanted to go back to one that I remember Claudia saying in that, 201 and 202, because there also was a lot of interest from our students about how do I know electives I'm going to want to take someday, later on in my physiology career. And I love the point about, really paying attention in 201 and 202 to like, what is interesting to you? I don't know if that was you, Allison, or Claudia that said that, or maybe both of you did, but it's such a good point. It's just kind of like how you do that in your gen ed classes sometimes where one certain thing about this big class really piques your interest and that's what helps you decide what you might take later on. So be excited about the opportunity to find out what some of those things are in these intro classes. So yeah, there's things that you need to get ready for, but there's also things to be excited about kind of learning. So the next section is going to be hosted by another one of our students, student ambassadors, and this section focuses on her recommendations and some of her favorite elective classes, actually. So Rachel, you're up next.
All right, hi everyone, I'm Rachel. I'm a senior this year and I'm also a physiology ambassador. I help create the newsletter that's sent out each month to the department, and I think I have some slides on each of the electives. I don't know if they're included. Oh, yes, thank you. So the first one I wanted to talk about, so again, like Dr. Stanescu mentioned, I really tried to pay attention to the topics that I was most interested in when I took 201 and 202, and I feel like that really helped me like pick my electives and know which ones I would probably enjoy the most. So my first one is reproductive physiology. So in this one, you know, like the name sounds, you learn about the female and male reproductive systems, how they function together, different disorders and diseases. And then I think there's also a large, or like a large emphasis placed on the nervous system and the endocrine system in relation to the reproductive system in this class. It's taught by Dr. Weinstein, and she actually works at a fertility clinic. So this class does a really good job at showing like real world applications of what we learn in class, which I really enjoyed. And I just think it showed, I don't know, I thought this was cool because it showed like kind of a different way you could take your physiology degree as well if you didn't want to go into medicine, because I know not everyone is interested in that. And then it's offered in the spring semester, and I would say this was a difficult course, but the information you learn makes it really worth it. And it was 4 exams total. And I really liked that it was 4 exams. And when you get into the electives, you'll notice a lot of them will be only exam based. And I personally like this because then you just have to study really hard, like 4 different times throughout the semester. You don't always have to be kind of constantly worried about homework. So for me, this structure was really beneficial. And then my favorite part about the class was you get to have a conversation with an OBGYN, and he comes in and lets you ask like any question that you're interested in. Nothing is off limits. And again, I just thought this class did a really good job of kind of showing how like real life plays into what we learn. And then my next course I wanted to talk about was endocrine physiology. And this one is also taught by Dr. Weinstein, but then it's also taught by Dr. Coletta. So each of them teach half the class. And in this class, I thought this did like a perfect job at kind of showing how all of the different systems work together in our body. And so you learn about every single hormone, all the functions of them, different disorders and diseases, and like our endocrine responses during like stress, fluid balance, metabolism, reproduction, growth, development, and aging. And it's offered in the fall semesters. And like the reproductive class, I thought it was definitely difficult, but again, the information was really worth it. And this class was structured with 4 exams and 4 writing assignments. But the writing assignments were more like case studies. So I thought they were really interesting and again showed how physiology plays out in the real world. And then for this class, I took this one online. So sorry, I got very dizzy. I took this one online, and I thought that Dr. Weinstein and Dr. Coletta did a really nice job at keeping it really engaging and letting us ask questions and testing our knowledge throughout the class. So I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for sharing. Those 2 classes do sound super interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to transition just to a little interactive component that Miranda's going to lead using Slido. So if you have like a mobile phone, or you can open up another tab on your computer if you're using a computer or a tablet or something, you should be able to access Slido to participate. So you just go to slido.com and then enter the number that you see there on the screen, which is pound 52898. And then as people get in there, hopefully we'll see the responses.
Can you see answers?
Yeah, I'm starting to see some roll in.
Yay.
Although it looks like maybe you have to like keep scrolling for us to see more because they're just like showing up in the little chat bubbles. Lots of people interested in cardiovascular. Nervous and respiratory system, endocrine. So Rachel, you might have just sold someone on that class.
I think I saw someone say the biology of cancer, which isn't in physio, but it is a elective that you can take for your upper division electives.
Oh, nice. Thanks, Jennifer. The skin. Awesome. Yeah, I know it can feel like sometimes you have to wait forever to get to those upper division classes that, you know, the descriptions you read and you're like, oh my gosh, this sounds so interesting. But it's worth the wait. And like I said, I think that the foundations that you build in the early classes matter so much in really honing in on what you want to study more and really helping you strategically choose those electives later on. So, but it's awesome to see what everyone's excited about in the program. Oh, Delaney said that MCB 325, which is the cancer biology class, is amazing. That's good to know. Okay, so thank you for doing that, Miranda. That's really awesome to see. Up next, we have a section that is again going to be hosted by one of our wonderful ambassadors. And this section is just kind of a reminder about us all being human and that this experience in our program and at the U of A has its ups and downs and challenges. That's all part of the experience. So is Albia?
Albia, yeah.
Albia, thank you. I should have practiced that before we got here. But this is your section to tell us your story. So thanks for sharing.
So hi guys. So I'm going to talk to you guys about failure and persistence. Before I start, I kind of just wanted to let you guys know that oftentimes we kind of group success and failures as like two sides of the spectrum. And I think it's important to realize that like you kind of need failure to know what you find successful. So like a story I want to share with you guys is, so in high school, I grew up in like a very strict Indian household where everything relied on my grades. I felt like my grades defined who I was. And so I was that straight A student who hadn't experienced any sort of discomfort or obstacles in my life. And all I did was like study. And then I came to college, and my biggest mistake there was that I was way too confident. I was overconfident. I was almost sure like, how hard can college be? My classes are going to be fine. I just have to study like how I always study. And it shouldn't be that different. So then freshman year, I took chemistry, honors chemistry with Dr. Pollard. And I don't know if you guys took it. It's a great class. And the first test, I went in super confident. Like there's only so much to chemistry, right? And I bombed it, 32%, failed it. And I was so mad, so disappointed. I was like, how is that even possible? And I had this like a few weeks of just, I don't know, I was so disappointed. I like withdrew from like all sorts of social life. Like, you know, I wouldn't talk to people. I just kind of like focused on studying. And I would not recommend that. I wouldn't talk to others. I wouldn't do anything. And I would just kind of blame it on like my situation and not my way of studying or anything. And it was really hard. And like, because of that, my mental health wasn't great. I was always anxious about everything, and I was not believing in myself at all. And then I think something that helped me overcome that was a routine. And as everyone was saying before, it's important to have something to fall back to. So if there is something, or if there is a moment in time when you're like, this didn't work out, if you have something to look forward to or just to keep at going, it really helps. Because for me, I had other friends who also failed that test, and what they did, their remedy for it was not going to class anymore, not trying, and giving up immediately. For me, I couldn't get back on my feet immediately, but what I did do was, I still went to my classes. I still did my homework. I still did my quizzes. And something I realized was I had to do more. I had to work harder than what I expected. I had to do more than what the high school me did. And so I think it's important to realize that each class will require something different from you. Each class will require you to put a different amount of effort. Some classes will require you to just take notes and memorize things. Some classes will require you to go to office hours, go talk. So I think it's just important. It's okay to have that moment of like ups and downs, trying to figure out how that class works for you. But I think it's just important to realize that that down doesn't define the rest of the course. There's that whole semester for you guys to figure out and to get back on your feet. So like this quote is saying, success isn't the absence of failure, it's the persistence through failure. And I think it's very important to be able to go back on that routine, try new things, and if it doesn't work out, like try other things, and if it does work out, keep it going, and then take breaks. Burnout is there. Everyone's going to have that burnout. There's going to be times when you feel that burnout as failure. It's okay to take a step back and just enjoy yourself, enjoy your college life. And then lastly, something I didn't do was relying on each other, just your other students, your preceptors, your TAs, your professors, and ambassadors. We're all here for you guys. I know it can be overwhelming to reach out at first. I know I did. I was kind of embarrassed to go out and talk to other people, but we are here and we have a lot more experience and we can help you guys. And so, yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you so much for sharing. It's so, so important, I think, for everybody to hear these real stories of what we've all been through. And I just, we have to normalize that that's part of this experience. And, when first year students are sitting here thinking they're talking with these like super talented, amazing ambassadors or faculty members or advisors who've like made it, we all have those stories too. So just ask us and we will always share with you those stories and help you work through it as well. So, we're curious. We have another poll on Slido if you still have it up or if you go back to it. Just a question about, when you think about failure, what's the first word that comes to your mind right now? Disappointment, fair. Growth, I love that. I'm kidding, failing, yes. Chemistry and math. Lessons, learning a lesson from the experience. Perseverance, I love that. There's always those two sides, right? Like you're going to be disappointed and you're going to be upset and you might be sad and you can be all of those things and also learn how to persist through it and learn from it and go and kind of like move through that experience and let it be part of your story. Trust me when like I said, we say these things because we've been through them and we've had those experiences too. So you're not alone. And yeah, the ambassadors, your advisors, you and your faculty members, like I said, they have those stories too, and they're here for you.
Yeah, so can I jump in and say,
yes, please.
My first calculus exam. By the way, I was a student here, so I was in this program as a student a while back. I won't say how long ago, but I failed my first math exam in calculus, and I was just disappointed. I was sort of like, oh, I haven't done that before. I was pretty good at math prior to that. And so I was taking it over the summer. So what I did, I realized I was kind of in the same situation where I thought I got this. I think, I'm good at math. I can do this. And I realized I had to work harder. I had to spend hours every day over the summer because it was moving fast too, to be able to get back on track. And I was lucky that in that class I could drop an exam and I ended up doing okay overall, but it was a good lesson. I mean, it really taught me a lot. And I think Maggie's right. We've all been there, and this is how you learn. Don't beat yourself up. Just figure out a way. This is how we learn. We all go through that. And I think the sooner you get back up, the better off you'll be.
Thanks, Claudia. And she's the director of our program. She failed something. It's totally normal. All right, so actually kind of segueing into our next section with Delaney. Delaney's gonna talk about some things that she knew back when she was a second year student.
Awesome, thank you, Maggie. Yeah, so like she said, my name is Delaney. I'm a senior. I knew going into my second year. So I think I have a slide. Maybe. Perfect. My Wi-Fi is a little shaky, so bear with me. So these are just 4 things I wish I knew. I could go on and on about all the things that I wish I knew, but I'll just stick it to the main 4. So the first one I have here is utilize community college courses if and when you can. And what I mean by that is a lot of the courses in the physiology major, like physics and calculus, those are really, really tough courses. They're very rigorous, and they're notorious at the U of A for being hard and time consuming. So if you can knock those courses out over the summer at a community college, do it. And that is kind of one thing I wish I knew, especially for calculus, is how transfer credit worked, because I didn't know. I didn't ask enough questions, and that kind of segues into my next point. But yeah, transfer credit is a great thing. Look into some community college courses if you're, not feeling like you want to do those courses at the U of A. A lot of courses are transferable, so definitely check that out. I ended up taking, once I found out about transfer credit, I ended up taking physics at a community college back home over the summer. I knocked out Physics 1, Physics 2, and both labs in one summer. And it was the best thing I could have done for myself, because physics and calculus, they aren't required for my future career, which is being a physician assistant. So kind of messed up with not taking calculus at a community college, but what can you do? You live and you learn. And then my next point is don't be afraid to ask questions. I'm the type of person that I don't like asking questions. I feel like I'm burdening someone, or I'm embarrassed to, or, it makes me feel stupid if I'm asking a question, but you're actually not stupid. It's the smartest thing you could do, is ask questions. So like Dr. Roof said, and Dr. Stanescu, get to know your professors, ask them questions. They'd love to talk about the material that they're teaching. That's why they're teaching it. Ask your advisors questions, ask upperclassmen questions, your preceptors, TAs. Everyone is here for you and ready to help you. So don't be afraid to ask questions. And then third point here, meet with your advisor. I didn't meet with my advisor until my sophomore year, because going back to the last point, I don't like to ask questions. I was a little afraid, didn't know what I was doing. I thought I could handle it, but you need to meet with your advisor. You need to come up with a plan. They know what they're talking about. They're all awesome. So definitely meet with your advisor. And then my last point here is check in with yourself and make time for yourself. We're in a very, very rigorous major. We're all probably on the track to medicine or a healthcare job or research or teaching. And
that takes a lot of time, that takes a lot of effort. So check in with yourself, make time for yourself. We're all human. We're students, but we're human. And I think that's the most important thing, because I definitely, my freshman year, struggled a lot with mental health. You know, it kind of adds up, all of the studying, and yeah, so I just think checking in with yourself, taking mental breaks, exercising, doing something for you is really, really important. So yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you so much, Delaney. Those are awesome, awesome points. And I love that our first year students who are on this call are hearing this now, because like you said, I feel like it's so common to not go to your advisor or not, ask for help that first year, and kind of just wonder, when you're going to kind of find out like how this all works and how to, balance everything. So thank you so much. So we are getting close to the end. A couple more things that we wanted to do. One more Slido just to, again, ask, why did you choose this major? So that we can kind of see the different perspectives that are here today and why you're studying physiology. And then just a couple other announcements.
Can I jump in and just say that, I put this in the chat that we love students who ask questions, but it's not just that we get to know you and we remember you. And you're somebody that if you come back later and you want a letter of recommendation, you're the one we're going to remember. You're the one that is going to get the yes answer on that versus somebody who sat back and didn't say anything. When you ask questions, you get information that other students don't get because they didn't ask, right? And it helps you on the exam, it helps you study. We really are here to help. I mean, we chose this profession because we want to help you, and we have it makes our day when somebody gets something they didn't understand before, or when we do something where we feel like we made a difference. I think we walk away feeling like, okay, I did something good today, right? It just makes us feel good. So you have to realize, okay, maybe that's not true for everybody, but a lot of our physiology professors, instructors, all of our, our lab coordinators, we have a lot of people who care, who want to see you succeed. And I think, you will do well if you ask questions. Just get out of your comfort zone a little bit, because the more you do it, the better you get at it, and the more you kind of get in the habit of it, and you will gain something from that. I think it will help you a lot.
And if I can, I'll just add, I agree with every single point there. Love questions. My favorite questions are the ones that are out of left field and I don't know the answer to. Right? So, and this happens in physiology. People will say, well, I had this one really weird thing happen with my body this one time. And any idea what you think that might have been? Or, and if they're in lecture, great. I'll say, I have no idea. We'll look it up and we'll talk about it next time we meet, right? If it's relevant. If it's in office hours, we'll look it up together and we can talk through the reasoning. And I say this because I think some students think that when we tell you we want you to ask questions, we're not saying that we want you to ask the most articulate, thoughtful question like you've, thoroughly studied. We just want to hear from you. There are times that we sit in office hours all by ourselves, and that's sad for us. It's even more sad now in Zoom because we're just staring at ourselves in a screen. We miss you guys, right? We want to see you. We want to talk to you. We want to hear how you're doing. You don't have to have a really well thought out question. Just interact, and it helps both sides. Yeah, helps you and it helps us.
Yeah, and I think especially in those early, in the early years in the physio program and in those early classes, having those discussions with you all, those more candid discussions, is another way that I think we can get to what a lot of students brought up in the RSVP form, and about like, how do I know like what I really want to study? How do I know what electives do I want to take? Things like that. Learning from the experiences of either your peers or your faculty, having those candid discussions and kind of figuring out like, how did you land on this, or why I'm interested in this thing that you talked about today. I don't have a good question, but I just want to know more. Like, those are the discussions that I think really start building those interest areas for you. So you don't have to overthink it, and you don't have to know everything that you want to study and everything that you want to be right this minute. let those experiences happen and those discussions happen and those things happen. And that's how you land on who you want to be, what you want to study. Okay, so thank you for responding to this last Slido. Definitely a lot of interest in medical school and our program fulfilling a lot of those requirements. What you saw up on the screen just kind of further shows you a lot of the crossover that you have with your other students and the peers that are in our major that maybe you haven't interacted with a whole lot yet because you're spread out across campus in some gen eds and other classes right now. But these are the people that will become your fellow students, and you'll get to know them more and more as you move through the program. So the last thing is just to remind you that congratulations, you sat through our entire event. So those of you that are here, we are going to pull the attendance list from Zoom and pick some winners for some really awesome prizes. And we will email you with your prize. So yeah, that's something that you get for engaging with us. We are so thankful to have students come to these things when we plan them. It means a lot to us to connect with you, like Claudia and Allison were saying. We really just want to hear from you and connect with you and be here for you and share the things that we can share. So we will share, we'll pull the list and pick the prizes and email you if you won a prize. And then a couple other reminders. Yeah,
Maggie, I think Noah has his hand raised.
Oh,
yeah,
you.
I just have a quick question. So that last slide, when you guys are talking about like how physiology is good for med school, what aspects of physiology do you think makes it better than like biochemistry or like any other pre-med major for med school?
I would be happy to take this one since I am teaching in the medical school. I think the physiology gives you a great background and a much bigger sort of big picture of the whole human body so that you can then attach details and other things to that that will help you do really well while you get to med school, while you're in med school, I should say, because I think when you're in the undergraduate program and you're applying, your focus tends to be a lot on getting in, which is totally normal because it's so hard to get in. But I think the goal is once you get in, you also want to do well, you want to be successful. So what I've seen is a lot of our physiology students, a lot of majors, our majors, do very well because they have this broader point of view. They understand the whole human body, all the systems and how everything integrates together. And then when they're learning about diseases and they're learning about different aspects, different things like pharmacology, they put it in that context. They have this big picture view and they're able to attach those things that start to make sense. So it's a much better way to learn sort of logically because med school happens fast, right? Everything you're learning is so, it moves really quickly. All of musculoskeletal physiology and anatomy and everything related, rheumatology, all of that in 6 weeks. You have to learn it all. So I think this just gives you a really good foundation, right? That's the key to me. So of course, there are many people, they come into med school with different majors. And I have seen people who come in with biochemistry, like you mentioned, or other majors, and they're all very smart and they make it through, right? They're okay, they do well, but they have a harder time if they don't have that foundation. So I do have a biased opinion because I am in physiology, but I see it from the perspective of success when you're there, that I think this is a great major for you to have to help you for med school.
Yeah, I also think that, physiology has this component to it where you not only learn about how the body works, but you also start to think about what goes wrong when it's not working properly, right? So if you think of it like the way a car operates, right? You not only learn about all the components of the car and how they work together, but then you also start to learn about how to fix those things when they break. And so that's crucial in medical school, and some other majors may not quite set you up for that thinking. And it's not to say that what they give you is less important, but in terms of the structure for medical school, I think that's probably the biggest advantage of the physiology major.
Thank you both for jumping in. That is really great information because I know that is a career goal that many of our students are looking towards, although it's not the only one, of course. Okay, so just a couple of reminders of upcoming events that we thought you might want to know about based on the topics you said you were interested in. There actually is a test taking strategies workshop being hosted by Think Tank tonight. So if you're comfortable on Zoom and you want to hang out longer on Zoom later tonight, you can go to the Think Tank website. The URL is there. Of course, you can't really click on it from here, but if you go to the Think Tank website, you can go to their workshop schedule if you're interested in things like that. We also have been sharing these workshops regularly in our Thursday announcements email, so you can often find these opportunities there. And then tomorrow there is another physiology event. The Honors Academy is going to be doing an event about physiology careers. So I know that is another very relevant discussion based on what you all have shared tonight. So those are just the two upcoming events that we wanted to highlight. And then again, your physiology advising team that was part of setting up this event for you, along with our ambassadors and our faculty, just to remind you that these are our phases. We are here for you and always excited to hear from you. If you want to have follow-up conversations about anything that was discussed today, that's always a good place to start. So yeah, we have like 2 more minutes. If there's any last minute questions, happy to hang out for those 2 more minutes. If not, like I said, email your advisor, email the faculty that you've seen here today. And then I know a few of the ambassadors even have shared their emails. And you can also find most of that on our website as well. So thank you again for being here.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
How important do you feel like the honors program is for graduate schools?
It's a great question. I don't know if any of the advisors or anyone who is part of the honors program wants to chime in.
I can talk a little bit. So it depends on like what you want to do, like what type of graduate program. I don't think that not being in honors is going to negatively affect you. I think that it can only do like something positive to your resume, to your application. I think the pros of the honors college is that you do a thesis, and so you get experience in research. And so if one of your grad programs is looking for an experience like that, then the honors program has kind of like guided you into that. And so you have that and you can like check that box. So there are definitely advantages to it, but I don't think that it's like a requirement for getting into a good graduate school, if that makes sense.
I missed your question. I'm sorry, I didn't know if you were talking about graduate school or medical school specifically, but there is, I just put it in the chat in the link, honors early assurance program that's pretty cool, where there's some seats reserved for honors students at the U of A's medical school through that program. So feel free to explore that and talk to your physio and honors advisor about that if you're interested.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we're at 7 o'clock. So I'm going to end the recording and again, say thank you to everyone who helped hosting and everyone who showed up today. We'll see you soon.